Cardinals will be having this lineup. Vince Coleman leading off, Ozzie Smith batting second, and Tommy Herr hitting third. Bob Horner back from Japan batting fourth. Willie McGee hitting fifth. Third baseman Terry Pendleton batting sixth. Jim Lindemann, the right fielder, hitting seventh. Tony Pena behind the plate batting eighth. And Jose De Leon, formerly a battery mate of Pena's in Pittsburgh.
And Darling will be backed up by Hernandez at first, Backman at second, Johnson playing shortstop, and Magadan playing third. McReynolds, Dykstra, and Strawberry in the outfield, left to right, and Carter will be doing the catching. The umpires for this game, Gary Darling behind home plate. At first base, Bruce Fleming. The umpire at second base, Terry Tata, and Jerry Davis will be the umpire at third. Mets have won the first two games of this series, and this is Vince Coleman to lead it off for the Cardinals. Coleman hitting .211 for the year, 1 home run, 4 runs batted in. He has 4 stolen bases in 6 attempts. Coleman, the first man in the history of baseball to steal 100 bases his first 3 years in the major leagues. Last year with 109 stolen bases. And last year he batted .289 with 3 home runs and 43 runs batted in. Mets shorten up in the infield as the first pitch of the ball game comes your way. And the fastball a strike. Last year, Coleman hit his first home run out of the ballpark in his major league career. That was after 1,942 plate appearances. So far this year, he has 1 home run. That was in yesterday's ball game. And he is 1 for 4 in this series. The Mets have never thrown him out. And he is called out. Darling with a fastball picks up a strikeout.
Right out of the chute. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Fastball on the outside corner.
So Darling racks up his 8th strikeout of the season, and Ozzie Smith hits his first pitch into center field for a base hit. Ball fielded by Dykstra, and Ozzie Smith, the first base runner. He is now 2 for 7 in the series. Smith last season with 43 stolen bases.
Well, he's got a chance for one right here. He has 4 on the year. Has not been thrown out. The Cardinals' running game has really been taken away from them during this series. Vince Coleman, injured, did not play on Friday night's game. They do not have a stolen base in this series so far, and it's not often you play the Cardinals twice in a row and don't have them steal a base.
They have had 200 or more stolen bases in 6 consecutive seasons. The Taggers, starting in 1909, had 200 or more in 7 straight years, so they have a chance to tie that record. And a balk call. So Darling is called for a balk, and that's the first time he's been called for a balk this year.
Well, I tell you, this appears to be a balk because Ron is stopping at a new location, and he's stopping right around the letters. He used to come to the waist, and that's Ron's way of combating the balk call. But it did appear that that foot was going forward before the hands came to a stop.
The feet have to be in a set position as well as the hands at the same time. So a runner at second now, and the pitch is called strike to strike 1.
I'll tell you, Ralph, the announcer for the Cardinals, Mike Shannon, told me about Vince Coleman, and he is introducing a new angle to this whole balk situation. He said, how am I going to, he went to Bart Giamatti, the National League president, said, how am I going to earn the money that's due me if I don't steal enough bases? He said, I might be balked to second or third 50 or 60 times a game.
Ground ball to the second baseman, Backman. And the Mets pick up an out as Ozzie Smith goes over to third. Yeah, you might have 75 stolen bases and 75
Number
bases.
5, first baseman
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he led the National League in balks 2 years ago. There were 21 balks with Vince on base. 21% of the balks that were committed in the National League were committed with Coleman on base. So, I mean, it does have a, an adverse effect on a guy like Vince Coleman, because here's a guy with with 100 stolen bases 3 years in a row. It might not be this year if the balk continues at its present pace.
He will take stolen bases away as you look at Bob Horner, and Horner gets the curveball. Horner in this series 1 for 6. He is second in the National League at on-base percentage, hitting .364. His on-base average .476. And there's the split finger fastball and a half swing for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Arbitrators have enough problems as it is without having some guy come in and say, look, I stole 80 bases, but I was balked the second or third 70 times. An arbitrator can do that.
You get nothing to base it on. There's no precedent involved at this point. 2-1, the count to Bob Horner. Horner played last year in Japan, had an outstanding year. In fact, he hit 6 home runs with his first 7 hits while playing in Japan. Now back in the States. And he turned down a 3-year contract that was reported to be $10 million to stay in Japan, to come back to the States to play. Previously had been with the Atlanta Braves and had racked up some outstanding numbers. Horner with a great swing. He has that short, compact swing, a lot like Jeff Burroughs. And that one is ball 4, so Horner picks up a walk, and he joins Ozzie Smith on the bases. Ozzie over at third.
Take it a step further. What if you're a guy like Bob Horner and the umpires pay no attention to the intent of the rule, and you balk with Bob Horner on base 40 times, and Horner uses that in his negotiation? Says, I was balked with me on base. A pitcher balked 40 times during the year. So you use that as something positive that would happen to you.
Well, as long as we're looking at Willie McGee, let's go a little bit farther yet.
Okay.
What about if a runner's on third and you're Bob Horner and he is balked in? You don't get a chance to drive in that run, and so you lose runs batted in, which is a figure that is a very important figure in salary arbitration.
That's right. But the guy who's on third will cushion his run scored production by scoring runs without being driven across.
So all the figures are involved.
Really are.
Just because somebody said enforce the balk rule. 2-0. Count now a strike call to Willie McGee. McGee hitting .200 for the year with no home runs, 2 runs batted in, 1 for 6 in this series. Darling allowed to blow on his hands, although it's not that cold here at Shea. It's a beautiful day for baseball. Has to be in the 60s. 2-1 pitch and fouled off. Keith Hernandez playing way off the bag at first. Horner not figured to be running, so he's not being held on in spite of the fact that Keith is about 5 steps in back of him when the pitch is made. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And the fastball foul back. McGee hit .285 last year. And for the first time in his career, he drove in 105 runs, but mainly because he was hitting in the 5th spot. He normally had hit higher in the batting order ahead of Jack Clark.
I'll tell you another reason, mainly because he had more runners in scoring position when he hit than any other major league player last year.
Clark was
260 men.
Clark had over the off-speed pitch, and that will end the inning. So 1 hit, a walk, and 2 men left on. Also a balk, and the score at the end of 1/2 inning. The Cardinals nothing. The Mets coming up. Now here's a word from the New York Daily News. On the mound for the St. Louis Cardinals. De Leon with a record of 1 win and 1 loss. He has an earned run average of 7.45. He's walked 7, struck out 9, given up 10 hits in 9 2/3 innings.
And the lineup for the Mets, Lynn Dykstra leading it off. Wally Backman hitting second. We'll tell you about the banner that was up. Keith Hernandez hitting third. Strawberry, McReynolds, and Carter, the middle 3. Howard Johnson, I've noticed Dave Magadan at third base this afternoon, hitting 8th, and then Ron Darling.
So De Leon, who had appeared in the National League with the Pirates, throws his first pitch as he returns here to Shea, and it's hit in the air to right field. Jim Lindeman is there, and 1 pitch and 1 away. Dykstra flying out, Lenny hitting .269 before the out with 3 home runs, 5 RBIs. The defense, Horner, Herr, Smith, and Pendleton. The outfield, Coleman, McGee, and Lindemann. And the catcher is Pena. That'll bring up Wally Backman. Wally without a base hit this year. He is 0 for 5.
A great banner up about Wally before the game, and it simply said, "We want Wally back, man." And they got him.
Wally in the lineup with the right-hander going. De Leon lifetime with a record of 33 and 56. Fastball for ball. De Leon with a one-hitter against the Mets a few years ago. He has good stuff.
Took a no-hitter into the 9th inning, and Hubie Brooks broke up that no-hitter July 31st, 1983.
Fastball fouled away. He also struck out 14 batters in one ball game.
You know why I remember that, don't you?
Because I was in Cooperstown.
That's right. And you stranded Steve Zabriskie and me here for 2 12-inning games on Banner Day.
It was Sunday. I know. I watched that
like
game at the tail end of that game up, and I left here and gone up there. Good run attempt by Backman, and he beats it out. Wally Backman gets his first hit of the year and a beautiful bunt.
Boy, I'll say. Tommy Herr not only was deep, but he was playing Backman over towards second base, which made the bunt doubly tough to get Backman on. Herr made it closer than it should have been.
So the Mets get a base runner, and here's the drag bunt to perfection.
Tommy Herr really had a long way to go for that ball, and he shovels it to Horner, but not in time.
Now the batter will be Keith Hernandez. And De Leon gets a called strike. Keith hitting .177 so far this year. He's had 6 base hits and 35 at-bats, and against the Cardinals, he's 0 for 6 in this series. And the slider hit back in front of the plate. De Leon throws it to Horner. It gets away. Backman on his way to third, and he'll be there. So Bob Horner, unable to handle the routine play, and the Mets have runners at first and third.
Tell you, sometimes you have loose webbing. The ball almost looked like it went through the glove of Horner. Right through the webbing. It appeared to have sailed at the last minute. Very alert base running by Backman. Wally didn't give up on the play. He got to the base and picked up the ball and went to third on a ball that a lot of guys wouldn't go to third on.
So Horner charged with an error. Runners now at first and third, and Darryl Strawberry the batter. Darryl hitting .333, 4 home runs, 5 runs batted in, and the forkball is swung on and missed. Strawberry 0 for 4 in this series.
You know, Ralph, in essence, that was a double error. Only missed the ball only one time. You allow Hernandez to get to first and Backman to get to third, a more important play.
Runner in scoring position with 1 man out, and Strawberry misses again. Forkball coming back up there.
I think his is more of a forkball than a split finger.
He's always had this pitch, and as we pointed out, 14 strikeouts in one ball game, almost a no-hitter in another. He lost a one-hitter to the Cincinnati Reds, so he has been around greatness and still has a record of 33 and 56. Whitey Herzog with 36 wins as manager of the Cardinals over the Mets. And again, the forkball, and Strawberry has struck out. That's a big strikeout. Incidentally, Davy Johnson has won Whitey Herzog. He has had 38 wins against Whitey Herzog when they have been managing against each other. That'll bring up Kevin McReynolds, and now with 2 men out, runners at first and third. McReynolds hitting .565. 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in. And the curveball for ball 1. 1985, De Leon had a record of 2-19.
Tony Pena was his battery mate that year. I think I'd change my name if I led a pitcher down a 2-19 path. It wasn't Tony's fault. A lot of pitchers think that.
Yeah, they blamed him, I'm sure. 1 ball, 1 strike. Again, the curveball and ball 2. Interesting, against Strawberry, a left-hand batter, he threw forkballs for the strikeout. Now against the right-hand batter, he's gone to the curve.
Something breaking away from the right-hander.
Fastball, and a good one. Perfect spot for that fastball. De Leon with the White Sox last year with a record of 11-12 in a comeback year.
Watching Tom McReynolds up here with a fastball inside corner.
Fastball hit the deep left center field, but it will be playable. Wind blowing it back toward the infield as McGee makes a catch, and that'll do it. 1 hit, 1 error, and 2 men left on base to score at the end of 1. The Mets nothing and St. Louis nothing. Now here's a word from the good old guys.
Well, a super piece of pitching by Jose De Leon. The fastball inside to McReynolds on the 2-1 count, as Ralph said. A perfect location. Now, there's the 2-1 pitch that set up the fork ball that Kevin just doesn't get into like he would. Now, see that front side leaving? The reason for that is that 2-1 fastball was in tight, and a ball that Kevin might normally drive harder, he flies out to center field. Good piece of pitching by De Leon.
And now Tony should say Terry Pendleton will lead it off. Pendleton, the third baseman, hitting at .257 with no home runs, 3 runs batted in. 1 for 5 in this series, and Ron Darling back with a fastball, strike 2. The difference in speed on the fastball and that forkball, probably somewhere around 20 miles an hour.
Probably more for Darling than it is for De Leon. He throws his split finger a little harder than Ronnie does.
Count remains at strike 2 on Pendleton. Pendleton, a fine season last year. 286 with 12 home runs, 96 RBIs. And the fastball fouled off. Pendleton with that most devastating home run against the Mets that tied a ball game in the 9th inning, when the Mets, if they had won that game, would have been just 1.5 game back of the St. Louis Cardinals. It was in September, around the 11th. And that game was tied by Pendleton, a 2-run home run, and then the Cardinals won it in the 10th inning, 6-4. Backman with a chance. Pendleton is out. Second assist for Wally Backman.
Number 15, right fielder.
That'll bring up Jim Lindemann. Doc Gooden talking it over. Gooden with a shutout against the Cardinals, a 6-inning shutout. The game shortened by rain.
Gooden going Wednesday night against Shane Raleigh, and we'll carry that game right here on WWOR. Phillies moving into town tomorrow. Boy, have they been struggling this last week.
It has been tough for them.
Last game they won, they beat the Mets a week from yesterday. After that.
2 good curveballs by Ron Darling for 2 quick strikes. Lindemann batting .167. Gooden looks like he has that left hand bandaged up. Split finger fastball. Could have a bone bruise from all that hitting he's been doing.
Well, Keith Hernandez has always been his idol. He wants to look like Keith's left hand.
Keith, of course, is left-handed
compliment.
That is a left-handed compliment. Good fastball. So after the curveballs and the split finger fastball, he comes in with his first fastball and throws it right by Lindemann. Good pitching.
Number 26, catcher Tony Pena.
See Carter setting up outside, and that's where the ball is. be just me, Ralph, but Ron seems to be pitching with a lot more confidence this year.
This seems like he's taken over.
Yeah.
In charge of the situation as he works to Tony Pena. And maybe a wild swing and a miss, and he'll walk away. You're watching Mets Baseball 88 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey.
A lot of people talk about confidence being an intangible. I think it's something you can see. I think it's very much tangible because you can't see the confidence, of course, but you can see the result of the way a man carries himself. And Ronnie's carrying himself a lot differently this year.
And you can also see it in the eyes.
Well said.
One ball, one strike to Pena, and the split finger fastball a called strike. Good variation of speed. Pena 0 for 3 so far in this series. And the fastball just does miss, 2-2. Darling third in the National League in earned run average at 1.13 coming into this game. 4 strikeout and 2 innings of work and a 1-2-3 inning. The score at the end of 1.5 innings. The Cardinals nothing, the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover. Bottom of the second inning. The Cardinals with great tradition and history, and a man who helped create some of that tradition and history with the St. Louis Cardinals, Tim McCarver.
All right, Ralphie, thank you for that very, very nice intro. Gary Carter leads it off. Right on the heels of What a Feeling, that Irene Cara's song, and what a feeling Gary must have right now.
Off to a great start, leading the league in slugging percentage at .862.
Leading the Mets in home runs and RBIs. He has 5 homers and 8 RBIs. Mets have 2 of the top 5. Glenn Davis of Houston also off to a good start, as is Barry Bonds of the Pirates. 1-1 to Carter, no score, bottom of 2. Grounded. Good play by the sure-handed Pendleton. It's what earned him a Gold Glove last year, but he's made 5 errors this year, all on throws. Ailing right shoulder.
Well, this is a very, very tough chance. He gets that, what ball players call the half hop. It's not the short hop. It's in between. And usually it's a do-or-die play, and that time he doed it.
Indeed he do. Howard Johnson batting .182. Hit his first home run of the year yesterday. Ball 1. Joe, part of the floundering offensive Met infield, batting only .140 as a group.
As a team, the Mets are hitting only .228. That's 11th in the league, but they are hitting the big ball, the home runs. First in the National League in home runs with 18.
Not the infield, however. The infield has 2 home runs. They're batting .140, 20 for 138. The outfield, on the other hand, batting .322. with 11 home runs and 18 RBIs. 1-2 to Johnson.
That's with 18 home runs in their first 10 games. Last year they had 14 home runs in their first 10 games.
Split finger fastball gets Johnson. And that's 4 in a row, retired by De Leon. 2 outs, nobody on, and Dave Magadan is back.
All right, here, Jose De Leon comes up with that off-speed pitch. And Johnson, who has seen a lot of slow stuff, full bat and is out.
Magadan 0 for 4 in the early going. His first start at third this year. He started 35 games at third base last year. And the fastball misses. Dave Magadan Magadan, Gary Carter's cribbage partner, hoping some of that long ball rubs off on him.
You got to hang around those home run hitters as you look at Ron Darling in the on-deck circle.
Well, I have, and it had to help me. 2-0 to Magadan.
Well, you don't play cribbage.
2 balls, no strikes to Dave Magadan. Strike 1. Big crowd on hand. Say 50,000 plus, or certainly close to it. Beautiful spring day. My goodness, you like to chop these days up and sprinkle them in your suitcase and save them for rainy days. There's a base hit by Magadan, the second for the Mets. And Dave's first of the year.
One of the things you have to like about Magadan's swing is the shortness of it. He puts the bat on the ball very quickly, which allows him to wait a much longer time than you would normally wait. Look how quick that swing is. Horner has a swing that's that quick.
But, Bob, a little more power and a short swing is not usually conducive to power hitters. You've got to have a longer trigger to develop more power. Here's Darling. Grounded sharply, but there's Pendleton over to her for the third out. No runs, a hit, 1 left in the second inning. I beg your pardon. After 2, no score, and we're back after this from Nissan. On the batter to lead off the third inning of a scoreless ball game. Ball and a strike to De Leon. In a scoreless game, you would think both teams have, with 7 innings left, the same advantage. Not true. De Leon is leading off the third, and the Mets have their leadoff man, Len Dykstra, leading off the bottom of the third. So even though it's a scoreless game, slight, even though very slight, advantage to the Mets.
All because of Magadan's base hit,
Yeah.
which brought Darling up and cleared the pitcher.
Exactly right. 2-2 to De Leon. Pitcher or you're a catcher, you look for those types of advantages in working a lineup. De Leon hanging tough, however. Still 2-2.
Well, one thing about both these managers, they know the percentages extremely well.
Tapper toward third. Magadan to Hernandez. 1 out.
Of course, Whitey Herzog's philosophy is very simple, and we'll show you what it is. Slick way to outfigure a person is to get him figuring you figure, he figures you're figuring. He'll figure you aren't really figuring what you want him to figure, you figure.
It figures.
Very simple philosophy. And that hangs on a plaque in the office of Whitey Herzog.
That might be worth looking at one more time, don't you think? Vince Coleman with 1 out and no score here in the third. Fire it up one more time, guys, if you could.
And we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. High ball 2, 2-0. Here it is again.
There it is. A slick way to outfigure a person is to get him figuring, you figure, he's figuring, you're figuring. He'll figure you aren't really figuring what you want him to figure, you figure.
Figures on Coleman 3-0, and you don't want to put him on, obviously, anyway, but namely by walking him. Whitey trying to figure out the percentages, I guess, but sure enough, 4 balls to Vince Coleman. He walked as an obvious base-stealing threat. He has stolen 4 bases, but he's been thrown out twice this year.
But the Mets have never thrown him out.
Only team in the National League not to have thrown out Vince Coleman. Here's Ozzie Smith.
He is 30 for 30 in stolen bases against the Mets.
That's what they might need to throw him out, a 30-30.
Or you'd figure that they'd figure to pitch out here.
Coleman does have a strain in his right Achilles tendon. Forced to miss Friday night's game. He did play yesterday and homered in yesterday's game. Now that appeared to me to be as much as of a balk as the one that was called earlier in the ball game with Smith on first.
Well, that's the thing about balks. Every umpire has his own interpretation of what is a balk. And it's strictly in their judgment.
No balls, one strike to Ozzie Smith. Does it seem to you that the balks have been coming earlier in the ball game?
It does seem that way to me, yes.
A fake break by Coleman. He's back 1-1 to Smith.
That time, Darling, a long hold. And one of the things about holding runners on, a long hold is very effective.
Line to center base hit. Coleman appears not to be running well on that bad Achilles tendon, and for that reason he stops at second. So Smith, his second straight hit, the only two hits the Cardinals have, and the batter Tommy Herr.
Well, Ozzie Smith serves this ball in the center field. He's out in front of the pitch just a shade, and he just puts a bat on it. Good piece of hitting. Ozzie last year hit .303 with no home runs and 75 runs batted in. His best year in the majors.
Herr grounded to second his first time up. There's no score. We're in the top of the third inning. The Mets going for the sweep against the Cardinals. Grounded towards second. Could be two. Backman. Johnson. Hernandez. No runs, 2 hits, 1 left after 2.5. No score. We're back after this from R.C. Cola. So Ron Darling gets out of trouble in the third inning. I guess pitchers like Will Rogers, huh, Ralph? They never met a double play they didn't like.
That is true.
Center fielder Len Dykstra.
Ronnie getting the ground ball hit sharply at Wally Backman. And Backman and Johnson turned the double play. Remember, Howard Johnson in at short today, and Dave Magadan in at third. Davey Johnson giving the rookie Kevin Elster, who has been struggling, a bit of a breather to regroup. Here's Len Dykstra. Ball 1.
Well, they call it the pitcher's delight, and this ball hit right at Backman. He handles the hop well. Good feed to Johnson playing shortstop, and the throw to first for the double play to get out of the inning. First threat, serious threat by the Cardinals.
Ball 2 to Len. Then he flied to right his first at bat. 3 of those home runs, game-winning home runs. Ball 3.
Dykstra brings a 4-game hitting streak into this game. And he has done some timely hitting. His counterpart in center field, Mookie Wilson, also had some big home runs for him.
So Lynn walks on 4 straight balls, and the batter, Wally Backman. Normally, Backman would be swinging away. I would look for him to bunt here, Ralph.
Tie ball game. Backman beat out a bunt for a base hit his first time up. A perfectly executed drag bunt. Of course, Dykstra a threat to steal. Lenny with 27 stolen bases last year. So the Mets with their rabbits up.
Sometimes games, even in the early going, have all the characteristics of a low-scoring game. Wally not bunting, and the fastball for a strike.
Hamilton looking for that bunt.
Third baseman has the luxury of not worrying about a ball being hit sharply to him. However, with Backman can keep a third baseman honest because he hits the ball sharply the other way. See where Pendleton is? first to get Backman. So a sacrifice, even though it was a drag bunt. And Dykstra moves to second in the batter, Keith Hernandez.
Pendleton has to take this play. I should say Horner has to take this play by himself because De Leon would not have been there in time. Backman tries to dive away. Might have been out for running out of that base path. Anyway.
One of the key plays in Game 3 of the, or was it Game 4? No, it was Game 3. The Saturday afternoon game. Strike to Hernandez of the 1986 League Championship Series against Houston. Dave Smith, the pitcher. Wally Backman with one out, nobody on. Bunted. Smith and Hal Lanier, the manager of Houston, contended Backman was out of the baseline. Dutch Rennert, the home plate umpire, said no, and Lynn Dykstra wins the game with a home run. That put the Mets up 2-1, and that led to the exciting, probably the most exciting National League Championship Series ever. 1-1 to Hernandez.
And going back to the 1969 World Series when J.C. Martin ran out of the base path and got hit by a thrown ball. Ball went out in the outfield. The Mets won that ball game, and the umpire said he was not out of that base path. You have to be in it if there's a play there.
On the corner, 2-2 to Hernandez. With 5 stitches in his left hand, hurts him throwing more than it does hitting. Healthy hack, and he fouls it back. Still 2-2. To right, could be trouble. Herr makes the play. Nice play by Tommy Herr. And what is Lynn Dykstra tagging at second for? You got to be halfway on that ball.
That's right. If that ball drops, he can't score.
You can't even. You may not be able to go to third.
Now Lenny tagged it up for this play with one man out. If the catch is made, there's no advantage to any degree to getting over to third. If this ball drops and he's halfway, he might score. But it's a good play and a good catch by Tommy Herr. Lindeman, the right fielder, unable to get there to make that play.
Here's Darryl Strawberry. He struck out his first at bat. Fastball, a bevy of fork balls with Darryl hitting the first time, 3 of 4 as a matter of fact. Ball and no strikes, first base open, Kevin McReynolds on deck.
Darryl doesn't figure to be getting anything good to hit in this spot. He's already had 8 walks this year. And with a right-hand batter due up, first base open, it's going to be a tough hitting situation for Strawberry.
Gets sharply to second, but there's Tommy Herr. And De Leon gets out of more trouble. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 left. Scoreless ball game after 3. Rusty Staub joins Ralph after this from your good old guy.
A special ball game tucked under his belt, and he's really relaxed out there, that's for sure.
David Cohn, the winning pitcher in yesterday's ball game, the beneficiary of Carter's home run and the insurance home run by Howard Johnson, as the Mets take their defense against Bob Horner. Both sides with 2 hits. Ron Darling working for the Mets, and Rusty Staub is joining us. And this ball looped to right field where Strawberry moves in. This game is brought to you in part by the New England Financial Services. Make New England your financial partner. And by your Lincoln Mercury dealer.
Center fielder Willie McGee.
A great side right there, Rusty.
That's a full ballpark.
On a beautiful day in the spring.
This is a little more like spring weather.
We won't talk about yesterday. Good breaking ball by Darling, pitching to Willie McGee. McGee was struck out on a split-finger fastball his first time up. And there's that split finger. McGee is the type of hitter that'll swing at anything.
He's also a very streaky type hitter. He has really struggled this year. Really struggled. He's had a lot of opportunities to help the Cardinals and has not done it.
And did he swing? He did. So the split finger in the dirt, and McGee is called out for swinging at the ball down in the dirt.
Ron Darling very effective with this pitch today. Ball's way down there. That's a marginal call, but the umpires have to make a quick decision, right or wrong. That's a tough one. Gary Carter being very aggressive behind the plate might have helped a little bit in that call, Ralph.
He appealed it immediately.
He went to the wrong umpire, but he did it quickly.
Just whether you're right or wrong, make it look like you're right. Now Terry Pendleton gets a fastball and fouls it off. That was the 5th strikeout for Darling. Pendleton grounded out his first time up. Strike 2.
I was talking to Mike Shannon before the game. He says either everybody on the team hits one day or nobody hits, and that's been their biggest problem.
Off to a slow start. They've won 3 and they have lost 7. Mets have won 7, lost 3. 2-2. 235 against the Mets with 3 home runs.
One of them a very big one.
And there's another one. Strawberry back, and he get there. He cannot. It's gone goodbye. So Darling gives up his first home run of the year, and the Cardinals take the lead 1-0.
Certainly Met fans remember the 3-run home run that Pendleton hit off Roger McDowell in the bottom, the top of the 9th inning with a couple of outs. That really probably was his major cause for the Cardinals defeating the Mets in 1987. He got all of that one, Ralph.
And his first home run of the year.
It's a fastball. It comes back right over the heart of the plate. Just an excellent swing by Pendleton.
Cardinals now have 6 home runs on the season, and the batter is Jim Lindeman, who was struck out his first time up. Lindeman had a back operation this winter. 2 strikes to count.
He had numerous injuries last year. The Cardinals were expecting a lot out of him. He had a decent start, hit some home runs for the Cardinals. He had a bad leg, a bad back. He was out on a disabled list, I would say a minimum of 3 times last year.
And he was the reason why Andy Van Slyke was traded off, because they thought he was going to be the heir apparent to the outfield job. And it was left open when Van Slyke was traded to Pittsburgh. Lindeman last year in 75 games batted .208 with 8 home runs. This ball hit hard to left. If it's fair, it's gone. It is gone. Goodbye. So back-to-back home runs with 2 men out, and the Cardinals lead 2-0.
We were telling you they were expecting a lot of this young man. That's the reason why. He's got tremendous strength.
So Whitey Herzog staked to a 2-0 lead with 2 men out here in the top of the 4th inning, and Tony Pena will be the batter. And the first pitch of ball. Pena was struck out his first time up. One ball, 1 strike. 1-2.
If anything has really hurt the Cardinals this year, it's their ability to drive runners in when they've had men in scoring position. Tony Pena on the year is 0 for 9 in those situations. Lindemann 0 for 6. McGee 1 for 13. And Tommy Herr 0 for 6. I mean, you're talking about a pretty good core of their people that really have done nothing with men in scoring position, and that's why the Cardinals have had a bad start.
1-2 to the St. Louis Cardinals, the National League champions last year. Good fastball, just does miss. 2-2.
The Met outfield has shifted Pena to right field. Strawberry playing him a little down the line. Dykstra favoring right side. Infield pretty much straight away.
3-2. Pitcher on deck, so important man to get out here. So the pitcher will lead off the next inning. There you see Jose De Leon. Strike 3. Darling gets 2 strikeouts in the inning, but he gives up 2 home runs, and the Cardinals lead at the end of 3.5 innings by a score of 2-0. Now here's a word from your New England Financial Service. Bottom of the 4th inning on a beautiful spring day here in Flushing.
A little shot in the back of Shea Stadium. A little playground area.
Leading off for the Mets, left fielder Kevin.
And we're going to the bottom of the 4th inning with the Cardinals leading 2-0 on home runs by Pendleton and Lindemann. For the Mets, it'll be Kevin McReynolds. Kevin flying out to left center field his first time up. He's had 13 hits and 24 at-bats. Came into this game hitting .565. On the mound for St. Louis, Jose De Leon. And the breaking ball for ball 1. De Leon has held the Mets to no runs on 2 hits. And the fastball fouled back. 1 ball, 1 strike.
De Leon, one of the reasons why everybody knows this young man's had a fine arm. No one's understood why he has not been a better winner. That's been talked about. But one of the things that was interesting about him is his record on AstroTurf last year. The opposing batters only hit about 180 off of him. Call a strike on Kevin McReynolds there. Certainly the Cardinals on that AstroTurf field must have taken note of that, Ralph.
They have that AstroTurf where they play in their home ballpark. Good fastball. 3rd strikeout for De Leon.
The Nissan scoreboard there. 3rd, Montreal 2, Philadelphia 1. Just underway, Pittsburgh at Chicago. Underway also Cincinnati at Houston. Los Angeles will host Atlanta tonight, and San Francisco will be in San Diego also later today. It'll be nighttime in New York, though, Ralph.
It will be. American League scoreboard. That ball hit hard, but foul as Carter gets out in front of a fastball. Carter out on a ground out to 3rd, his first time up. Carter leads the club in walks with 9, 1 more than Darryl Strawberry. He's 3rd in on-base percentage in the National League at .475.
The Alliance Sports Bureau came out with one of those statistic things that talked about particularly Whitey Herzog and the selection of his team.
1 ball, 1 strike to count. Strike 2.
In that conversation, they talked not only about the selecting of the speed on the Cardinals, but the pitchers, and that some pitchers pitch better on AstroTurf than others. Normally, they say, it's the pitchers with control that fare the best on AstroTurf.
That would let De Leon out.
I understand. He pitched so tremendously well on AstroTurf, though. A 181 average against the opposition last year. Everyone knows he's had a great arm, but one of his real enemies has been walks in certain games.
And the fastball fouled back out of play. He does throw that forkball, which is a ball that's hit on the ground a lot, usually topped a lot. lifetime record of 33 and 56. And lifetime against the Mets 1 and 6. Again, the fastball that's popped up. Warner will try it. And he puts it away. So Carter fouls out.
He danced around on that one. Here's the Nissan scoreboard in the American League. Boston 11-0 over Texas in the fourth. All tied up one apiece. Cleveland and Baltimore. Kansas City behind Detroit 3-0. Toronto 1. Minnesota 0 in the fourth. Just getting underway. New York and Milwaukee, and everything else is tonight. Later today. It is Sunday, right?
It is Sunday.
Here's Horner. He's not going to get any bonuses for all those steps he took trying to catch that ball, is he? They used to give him bonuses for his weight.
He had a big weight clause. When he was with Atlanta, he had to make a certain weight, and he got paid for it if he did. Picked up a few extra bucks. Didn't get that in Japan, though.
I was never on that side of the fence. I always got fined if I didn't make it.
You had the wrong agent. Good breaking ball.
I think it was a different attitude of the manager on the field. Gene Mauch was one of the first people that actually gave weights and demanded you maintain them. Fined you $100 a pound. Back in the late 60s, that was a pretty good chunk. I remember one time John Bateman weighed in one day. He weighed 199 3/4. He weighed him in the next night, and he had gained, I'm not exaggerating now, over 12 pounds.
He had to dry out for that first weigh-in.
No, I don't know what he did, but Mark got him on it. It might have been more than that. I know it was at least 12. It might have been up to 15. Sometimes those weight clauses aren't good either way.
Good breaking ball, and that will do it. Mets go in order for the first time in the ball game as De Leon strikes out 2, and the score at the end of 4. The Cardinals 2, the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. Top of the 5th inning. The Cardinals leading 2-0, and leading off for St. Louis, Jose De Leon. De Leon grounded out his first time up.
Certainly has a lot to be smiling about today. He is pitching just a very fine ball game here. Second opportunity as a leadoff hitter.
And Ron Darling misses with his first pitch. Cardinals getting their 2 runs on home runs by Terry Pendleton, his first of the year, and Jim Linneman, his first of the year. Ground ball for Johnson, and he gets it over to first in time.
De Leon went down that line very well. Howard Johnson was taking his time, and he had all of a sudden make a quick throw to first.
Take a look at the ball here.
Yeah, he takes his time, looks up, and watches him have to give that real hard, quick shot.
Left fielder is Coleman.
Away. Johnson playing shortstop today. Kevin Elster rested as they worked Dave Magadan into the lineup at third. And now for St. Louis, it'll be Vince Coleman. Coleman has struck out and walked. And when he was on base with the walk, it was apparent that that Achilles tendon is still tender. He was not running well. So Mets should be a little bit happy about that. He is some base stealer. Right at Keith. Bullet.
You couldn't have called it better, Ralph. It was a bullet.
Shortstop, Ozzie Smith.
Keith Hernandez, as good a reactions as anybody down there. Ron Darling, again, that fastball coming right back out over the plate. The ball got to him in a hurry.
Now Ozzie Smith, who has 2 hits and 2 at-bats, and he gets an off-speed pitch for his first pitch. Ozzie is single up the middle the 2 times he has been up. 1 ball, 1 strike. Third ball, and this one right at Magadan at third, and a 1-2-3 inning. The score at the end of 4.5 innings. The Cardinals 2, the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from Bush Beer. Magadan with a single to right field his first time up. On the mound for St. Louis, Jose De Leon. And he tries a curveball for ball 1. Magadan's base hit coming off a fastball. ball 2.
That's that debatable area that the National League has particularly talked to their umpires about. That ball was in that gray area, whether that would be a high strike or a ball. Gary Darling behind the plate.
And Ron Darling is pitching for the Mets. High fly ball to left. And Vince Coleman puts it away.
It's not very often that you have a Darling throwing to the plate and a Darling calling the signs, or the signals anyway.
Well, here comes Ron Darling.
Pitcher, Ron Darling.
With the umpire, Gary Darling, behind home plate. They are not related.
Has that happened before? Is that?
Well, you had the Howler brothers, but one was an umpire in the American League, and the other was a catcher in the National League. They never faced each other. Out to deep left center field. Coleman running for it. Can't get it. Darling on his way to second. McGee gets it back in, and Darling with a 2-base hit.
On the previous play, McGee and Coleman almost ran into each other on that one. This time they come very close again. Neither one of them got a good jump on either one of those balls. I mean, they're shying off each other. Vince Coleman, as a left fielder, has to check the center fielder on that ball. It's a tough stunt field right now for the left fielder. But his job is to play off the center fielder.
So Darling with a double. And the batter for the Mets is Len Dykstra. Dykstra represents the time run at the plate. Right out to right field his first time up. Walked on 4 pitches his second. And the curveball a strike. Dykstra with a .269 average coming into this game with 3 home runs and 5 runs batted in. 1 ball, 1 strike.
The Mets have had at least 1 home run in the last 8 games they've had during this period. They have been knocking the long ball.
They lead the National League in home runs with 18. Fastball fouled away. The combination of Dykstra and Mookie Wilson, the Mookstra combination, has done well. Last year they had a combined batting average of around .290. Actually a total of .292. The ball just ticked, so the count stays at 1-2. There you see Mookie in the background there. The year before they had a combined average of .292 with 17 home runs. Last year, 19 home runs, 90 runs batted in 86, 77 combined total in 1987. Out to left field. So Coleman, using the sunglasses, picks up the out. 2 men away, and that'll bring up Wally Backman. Mets trailing 2-0.
That's sometimes a deceptive statistic, though, Ralph. A lot of times they talk about, I remember Ernie Witt and one of the other guys that was catching in Toronto, they talked about what a great combination left-handed and right-handed they did, but they also were able to use the DH. And sometimes they were both in the lineup together. The same thing with Dykstra and Wilson. So some of those stats, even though they look good, aren't when one or the other was playing. Sometimes they were both playing in those circumstances. But it is a nice stat.
That is correct. Backman with a bunt base hit. There was almost a wild pitch. Good play on it by Tony Pena.
This is a definite overthrow here. He really tries to overthrow this ball, and almost right by Pena.
Tony wearing glasses since the end of last year. Good fastball, 1 ball, 1 strike. Backman hit 1 home run last year. Another fastball, 2 balls, 1 strike.
Most teams shift further toward left field on Wally Backman. Right now, McGee in center field is just a little bit shading on the left side of second base there. Wally a little bigger left center field than most clubs do.
And that puts the count at 3-1 with Keith Hernandez on deck. Joe Pena out to talk to his pitcher. De Leon has struck out 4 batters in this ball game and walked 1.
We talked many times about this being the real tough RBIs in baseball. Those 2-out RBIs. Wally Backman was very good in this situation last year.
Goes after the fastball and fouls it off. So the count goes to 3-2.
He hit in the high 300s in this exact situation. 2 outs, men in scoring position.
In spite of a .250 average for the season. 3-2, Darling the runner at second. 2 men out. Bottom of the 5th inning. Hit out to left center field. Long run for Coleman, and he gets back to the warning track and makes a good running catch, and that'll end the inning. Good play by Coleman, tracking that one down. 1 hit, a double by Darling. Darling left at second base, and the score at the end of 5. As Steve Zabriskie joins Rusty Staub, it's the Cardinals 2 and the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover.
Facing Tommy Herr here. Fastball inside, strike 1. I welcome Steve Zabriskie to the booth to handle this play-by-play.
Thanks a lot, Russ. Pleasant good afternoon wherever you may be. We hope it's as beautiful a day as it is here. Spring has not fully sprung, but this is as close as we've been to it for a while.
Well, why don't you take that coat off?
Because I'm cold. 1-1 to Tom Herr. I said
you have an overcoat on.
No, I'm going to. I'm going to keep it on until it gets at least 10 degrees warmer. If we were in the sun, it wouldn't be too bad. A little check swing foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
What you call getting in the kitchen right there. That shook a few of those pots and pans in there.
Put some bees in your hand.
The Cardinals have been without John Tudor all year. He is, I think, going to rejoin them next week. I don't know whether he's tossing on the side or in a game.
Breaking ball down low, 2-2.
He's been in an extended spring training group down there trying to recoup from a few different things that were bothering him. He had caught the flu. His arm was hurting a little bit. I think he had trouble with his back. But I think he's going to join the Cardinals this week finally.
That's got to have a positive effect. Darling bounces one up there, and it's a 3-2 count to Tom Herr, leading off the 6th inning with the Cardinals leading 2-0. Herr has grounded to second and grounded into a double play.
With 2 strikes on Tommy Herr, Gary Carter makes a fine play here. Pitch down in the dirt, good movement. Kid bouncing around behind that plate.
With nobody on base, some catchers would not have made the effort.
Well, with 2 strikes, if you don't pick it, he swings at it, it's all over.
Ball 4. So the Cardinals have the leadoff batter on. And Sid Fernandez watching and listening. Hi, Sid. Smile for us, Sid. And Sid, you're watching Mets baseball, 88. On WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey.
Sid seems to be a little fired up today himself, doesn't he?
Tom Herr on with nobody out, and here's Bob Horner, who has walked in line to right. And again, a good play by Carter to keep the ball out in front. Ball 1.
really errant with this one. That was even further outside. Carter even going wider to stop that ball. Darling went all the way in his last outing. Pitched a shutout through a lot of pitches. This early in the season, some people think that might have a little effect on the resiliency of a pitcher's arm. Certainly has to be considered.
Drifts back into the seats down the right field line, and the count on 1-1. I'm sure there's a pitch count being kept on Ronnie. There always is, but being watched closely as the game progresses. Because it's not only how many pitches you throw in a particular game, but as you just mentioned, Russ, how many you threw the time before. Back up the middle. Tuffle behind, or rather Johnson to Backman. And a double play, nicely turned, even though Tom Herr made a good effort to take Backman out of the play. Wally hung in there and completed it.
That was a gutsy move here. Wally Backman has to take that with his back right at the runner. He makes a good turn on the bag, though. Herr can't go out too far to get him. Wally knew he was a little vulnerable, so he stepped away from the bag toward the outfield, and Herr could not get to him. That's a smart little second sacker getting out of the way there.
He just did get out of the way. Here's Willie McGee, who takes a strike, and Willie has struck out twice. From a one-on, nobody-out situation to a two-out, nobody-on situation. Line drive, base hit, right field. So the double play looms a little bit larger as McGee picks up the 5th St. Louis hit as the Cardinals lead it 2-0. And that'll bring up Terry Pendleton.
Third baseman Terry
Gave the
Pendleton.
Cardinals their 1-0 lead with a home run in the 4th inning, his first of the year. Some of that almost ever-present guard on his forearm.
Pendleton is a left-handed hitter against right-handed pitching last year. Hit right under 260, 259. But from the other side of the plate, he hit 337, so he struggled from the left side.
And he takes a strike.
Willie McGee certainly should be thinking about being aggressive on the bases right now. Got a short lead there.
But he's running. No, he bluffed it.
Well, that was an outstanding bluff, too. I think he really wanted to go, and he figured he got a bad jump.
He bluffed about a third of the way down the base paths towards second before coming back. So you may be right.
Was close.
McGee electing to go back in standing up. Almost got picked off.
St. Louis as a team stole 200 bases plus last year and have done that for the last 6 years. You see Darling going back over there again for another try. They're leading the National League right now, even though they've had a poor start in stolen bases.
They have 12 in their first 10 games, this being the 11th. Darling with a quick throw. Ron has an outstanding move to first, but in the year of the balk so far, you must be careful. Just outside. 2 balls, 1 strike to Pendleton. More balks, however, are being called on pitchers delivering home than on throws to first base because of the complete and discernible stop portion of the rule that's being enforced. Now McGee is running. Carter with a good throw, not in time. It appeared as if they might get him, but McGee with that hard straight-in slide apparently beat Johnson's tag.
Gary Carter did all he could do here. McGee did not have a great lead, but he got a good jump that time. This throw is almost as good as you could make it. If he'd have got it down a little lower, maybe it would be a better throw. McGee going in hard. Umpire, second base, Terry Tater.
It looked like the throw beat him, but McGee beat the tag.
It was just a little bit high for him to get that quick tag down on him.
3-1 to Pendleton with McGee at second and 2 out. Big cut on the off-speed pitch, and it's 3-2.
And this is where Terry Pendleton really was great last year. You see Darling with that pitch, he swings and misses. With runners in scoring position and 2 out last year, Terry Pendleton hit 384. Okay, I mean that is getting some tough clutch RBIs right there.
Ball 4. No chance to do it here as Darling walks him.
Right fielder Jim
This is
Lindemann.
the 4th walk issued by Ron.
Davey Johnson and Mel Stottlemyre sitting very quietly there on the bench. No activity in the Met bullpen now.
And Jim Lindemann will be the batter with runners at first and second and 2 out. Lindemann homered to left field his last time up after striking out in the second. And was also Jim's first of the year. The breaking ball is low ball 1.
This is where the Cardinals have not fared well whatsoever with men in scoring position. And Shannon said they either did it all in one day or not at all.
Low again, 2-0.
They have had a couple of days where they scored a lot of runs.
But if you look at their lineup today and the RBI totals, not counting the home runs by Pendleton and Lindemann, well, even if you want to count that, the maximum number of RBIs any one player has is 4. Strike 1, 2-1.
In that situation, Lindemann is thinking, I am going to hit this ball out of the ballpark. I want it on the inside part of the plate. Darling placed that ball on the outside part of the plate for a strike. Lindemann took it.
Fastball missed, 2-2.
Darling went right back out there. Lindemann that time. He's got a situation where he can drive in a run with a single. It's very rare that someone is going to throw Willie McGee at second base out at the plate with 2 outs. Now with 2 strikes, he's got to be thinking contact. Put the ball in play.
Breaking ball, lofted to right field. Strawberry over, makes the catch, and the inning is over. A couple of walks and a base hit, a double play, and 2 left here in the 6th inning. The Cardinals fail to score, but they lead 2-0 after 5.5, and we're back after this with the good old guys. Well, the Mets will have the heart of the order up as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Hernandez, Strawberry, and McReynolds against Jose De Leon. And Keith, who was off to a slow start, 0 for 2, reached on an error and popped out on a fine play by Tom Herr. Lines a base hit into right center field. His first hit of this series. Keith is 1 for 9 against the Cardinals in this series.
Right about one thing, he has been pressing a little bit, Steve. He fights off a really good moving fastball there. For someone who has, I've said this a few times in the past, for someone who has the great ability that he does, it's hard to believe sometimes how fragile and how much pressure he can put on himself when he's not hitting all the time. Because he really thinks he should hit all the time, and I think he's right.
Well, that's why he has the pressure on him.
I understand.
A lot of people feel that way.
Well, I was in the same boat in my career. I mean, I understand all that, but he really puts some undue pressure on himself sometimes.
Well, a lot of times, good athletes, and you're looking at one right there in Darryl Strawberry, are their own worst enemies. A fork ball just outside on the outside corner. For a strike, 1-1. Darryl 0 for 2 is struck out and grounded out, and he too has not had a hit in this series. He is 0 for 6.
I don't know if Jim Lindemann could play a little deeper or any of these Cardinal guys, but if it's over their heads, it's got to be out of the yard.
Darrell chases the fork ball again, 1-2. Lindemann struck him out.
I mean, we're talking way out there.
I mean, De Leon struck him out in the first inning. Well, one thing about Darrell, you can play him deep, but sometimes you can't play him high enough.
If there was 2 outs and a man on first, I agree with playing him all the way back like they are right now. But in this situation, I think they're just playing too defensive.
Outside, 2-2. Well, the one thing that you want to guard against here, if you can, as a right fielder, is a ball hit for a base hit on a line. You want to try to keep the runner at first from going all the way to third base. And if you're playing as deep as Lindemann is, there's no way you can do that if Darrell gets a single.
He is way out there. You can see it right there.
Strawberry hits it high and deep down the left field line. Coleman running, can't get there.
That iron screen down that left field and right field lines that's part of the stands. Trust me, every outfielder knows it's there. When you start coming to that little point where you're heading toward that, you do not want to hit that because it ain't going nowhere.
No, and there's no padding on it either. Coleman had a long way to come from that ball.
But two people hurt themselves on that.
2-2 to Strawberry. Hernandez at first with nobody out. The Cardinals leading 2-0. And De Leon trying to go a little too quickly to Darrell's liking. And that's the second time this at bat Strawberry's asked for time. Inside, 3-2.
And be a little careful with the umpire Darling behind the plate. From just watching this particular game, he has favored the inside part of the plate in the strike zone. And that ball just a little bit too far in. But he has liked that side of the plate. Again, that's some of the things that the hitter should be paying attention to on the bench. And he's going back out.
And away, and Strawberry walks. Runners at first and second with nobody out. The tying runs aboard for New York here in the 6th inning.
Only De Leon's second walk, but it certainly does not come at a good time.
Left fielder, Kevin.
And it brings up red-hot Kevin McReynolds. McReynolds fly deep to center field to end the first inning, and he struck out looking opening the 4th. But on the season, as you can see, he is above 500 at 13 hits and 25 at-bats, hitting .520.
We've talked a lot, at least I know I have today, about hitting with runners in scoring position. I think that's a really valid statistic, as opposed to the game-winning RBI, which I think stinks. I think has very little merit. Hitting with men in scoring position is very consequential.
Just barely high for ball 1 as McReynolds lays off.
Tell you what, that's not a bad pitch to hit. Kevin McReynolds might have been sitting on a fastball there or something else, but that was close to being a strike, and it was a high hook. I used to try to come out of my shoes to find those.
Hammer on those babies. Take all those you can get. There's the fastball, and it's popped up. Ozzie Smith out in short center field makes the catch, and there's one away.
Well, that's an area that Kevin McReynolds certainly hopes that he improves on. Last year he had a tough year in that situation. He only hit .213. He's driven a lot of good runs during the course of his career, but he struggled in '87 in exactly the situation. He didn't get a hit there.
Gary Carter, the batter now, with first and second and 1 out, and Carter has grounded out and popped out in foul territory to Horner at first base. You talk about the game-winning RBI that stinks. I agree with you in most instances. Yesterday, Carter's game-winning RBI.
That's a game-winning RBI. If they could find a way to make that a stat, that's fine.
Qualify that thing. Ball 1.
The Elias Bureau does something about hitting in pressure situations, but I believe their pressure situations are if your club was within 3 runs of the other team. How many times do you not? It's rare.
Well, if they could somehow qualify the game-winning RBI to make it more valid, it would be a very telling stat. But as it is now, it really doesn't hold a lot of water. Good breaking ball. 1-1.
And the only water it holds is murky and stinky.
That Louisiana Bayou stuff.
A lot of clear water down there. Don't be getting on the bayou.
That's true. Carter with the 2-run home run yesterday gave the Mets the win. Well, you talk about an outstanding location against Gary Carter. That pitch from Jose De Leon was almost perfect, and the count is 1-2. Potential tying runs at first and second. 1 out in the bottom of the 6th inning. High and tight, 2-2.
Gary Carter with that big home run yesterday. It's very difficult as a hitter, especially when you're supposed to produce home runs. He's in a situation now with 2 strikes and only 1 out. He's still thinking 3-run home run. I don't know if that's good or bad.
They're going to go away again. Nope, De Leon got it in there, and Carter popped it up. Again, Ozzie Smith calling for it. And now there are 2 away.
I only say that because I know Gary well. It's very difficult not to put yourself in that mental frame of mind. But with 2 strikes, I used to try to give those pitchers, I would be so aggressive. You see that just, it's not a bad swing. Just got beat a little pitch. You got a pretty fine pitcher out there through a good pitch. The first 2 strikes you have to work with. You can try to produce a long ball, an extra base hit, the way I like to say it. I don't like to try to hit a home run. I like to produce an extra base hit. But when you get that second strike on you and you have a pitcher with the ability, the stuff that De Leon has, I think you have to concede a little bit to them. And you'd be surprised how many home runs you hit when you do that.
Well, you even used to choke up as an example of that, and you'd still hit the ball out of the park on occasion with 2 strikes. Did you choke up more with 2 strikes than you did going into the at-bat later in your career?
The only time I choked up more in any situation is that there was a man on third base and less than 2 outs, and I knew the pitcher really wanted to try to get me out inside. I would crowd the plate a little bit to make him do it, and I'd choke up a little more. I'd be up about 5 or 6 fingers.
Just inside, ball 1 to Howard Johnson, who has been struck out by De Leon swinging twice.
When I was in the American League, Louis Tiant was like that. He would pitch me away a lot, but in any situation with a man on third, less than 2 outs, obviously I found that out by watching him a little bit, and he got me out once or twice like that. From that point on, he didn't get me out like that anymore.
Live and learn. Howard Johnson does not choke up, and he misses the 4th ball, and it's 1-1.
Okay, you're studying the pitcher's patterns and watching what they do against good hitters. It can help you. You have to find the type of hitters in the league that, you know, you are similar to, and watch how they try to work them. You can learn a lot by watching the games when you're not even in the game, just on television.
Fouled off the end of the bat, and the count 1 ball, 2 strikes. De Leon has given up 4 base hits. He has struck out 4 and walked only 2 through 5 2/3. As the Cardinals lead it 2-0 with 2 out here in the 6th inning. Outside, 2-2. Davey taking a peek at the lineup card.
And that bullpen is still completely silent. Like if Howard Johnson gets on here, we may see a little quick activity out there.
And the fork ball low and inside. 3 balls, 2 strikes. 2 out, and the runners will be moving with the pitch.
I really like to see a pitcher challenge 2-2 in these kinds of situations. Right now, everybody is going to be running, so it's an automatic scored run if there is a single. A lot of times the pitchers, I don't know, it's a different mentality, I think. You can say, well, I have another pitch to work with. I don't have to give him a good pitch yet. Yet when those guys start running, if I was a pitcher, I would certainly like to have it where my infield and my outfield don't see all that activity on the bases on a 3-2 count.
Roger McDowell now up quickly and throwing. And with a guy at first base in this situation like Darryl Strawberry with his speed, Darryl could possibly score on an extra base hit and tie this game up.
He could score on a long single.
True.
And has done it before.
But whether or not they'll send him in this situation on a long single remains to be seen. But he certainly has the speed. Running with the pitch to score from first. And they're off. Strike 3. Took it low and away for ball 1. 1-1.
Ron Darling very quick coming off the mound that time. Looks like as he started to finish up his pitch, he was already on the way. That was amazing.
Just a little low. Darling, of course, a great athlete, and the Mets pitching staff as a whole, outstanding fielders. Tony takes a cut at one in his eyeballs, and it's 2-2.
He took those 2 close pitches to hack at that one. He's probably as much as anybody. Yogi Berra was noted for being a bad ball hitter. Obviously, Yogi hit some of the good pitches pretty well, too. But Tony Pena has really controlled it a little bit, but he was one of the official hackers in baseball as it is termed.
Inside with a fastball, 3-2. Jose De Leon on deck, and then the top of the order and Vince Coleman to face Darling here in the 7th inning. Ripped foul down the left field line, and the count remains 3-2.
Gary Carter was looking for that ball down and away. That ball was up and in. Again, Darling threw a lot of pitches in that complete game shutout last time out.
Breaking ball, a split finger fouled off. Still 3-2. Nick Leyva with the easy play. That's the Bob Uecker play. Wait till it stops rolling and pick it up.
What a funny man he is.
Fastball grounded to short. Johnson right there. And away.
The Nissan scoreboard in the National League all tied up in the 5th. Philadelphia at Montreal. 2-1 Pittsburgh over Chicago in the bottom of the 2nd. Also bottom of the 2nd, all tied up. Cincinnati and Houston. Atlanta and Los Angeles, San Francisco and San Diego are both later.
1 out, nobody on for Jose De Leon, who has pitched extremely well. However, not known to do that well with the stick in his hand. An .069 career hitter. Fouled away, and they count 1-1.
You know, if he gets a hit, you're going to get some letters on that.
Oh, sure. Kiss of death. As soon as you start talking about how well a guy's going or how bad he's going, he does the opposite thing. Johnson again. High throw, but Hernandez corrals it 2 away.
We'll look here at the American League Nissan. Boston 13-2 over Texas. In the 6th, also in the 6th, Cleveland over Baltimore 3-1. Baltimore really struggling. 5-1 Detroit over Kansas City. Minnesota behind 1-0 to Toronto. Yankees have scored a run. They're ahead 1-0 bottom of the 2nd. Chicago and Oakland. California at Seattle later.
2 out, nobody on for Vincent Van Gogh, who's 0 for 2 plus a walk. Last time up, he lined a bullet to Hernandez at first.
This winter, I had the pleasure to see some Vincent Van Gogh paintings. Yeah, at the Museum d'Orsay. Paris, what a great trip that was.
And you're going to Europe again this summer. I'm telling you, you're becoming quite the jet setter.
Trying to learn, trying to study.
I admire that. Coleman tried to bunt, missed it. 0-2.
We're also getting ready to open a new restaurant, and I'm trying to learn what's available, what's out there.
That's a good idea.
Ron Darling, a good pitch. Oh, really bottom fell right out of it. Coleman trying to look like he didn't go at that one. I went for that ball? How could you say that?
Well, Vince, you were about a third of the way to first, actually. Breaking ball, and Coleman did a nice job of waiting for that pitch and served into left center field for a 2-out base hit.
Shortstop, Ozzie Smith.
So look at it right here. Saw him kind of had that little quick hesitation to check off that breaking ball and went the other way with it. That's good hitting.
Nicely done. So Coleman at first for Ozzie Smith, who is 2 for 3. The Wizard with 2 singles to center his first 2 times up, and then he lined hard to third base in the 5th inning. And here's where you have to be cognizant of the enforcement of the ball. Coleman bluffs going, and the pitch is taken low. Another thing that Coleman does, in addition to disrupting the pitcher's routine, is that he gets catchers jumping up in front of umpires.
He certainly does. Gary caught a bolted out of there that time.
A strike called, and it's 1-1 to Smith. When catchers do that, it can be a big boon to the hitters because the umpire's view is blocked. He has a tendency not to call it a strike, even if it might be one. As he fouls it off himself.
I think that Vince Coleman and Ozzie Smith, they've been together now for a few years. They should have certain signs between themselves. I mean, Vince Coleman can't tell him every time he's going, but under a lot of circumstances, he can have a sign to let Ozzie Smith know that I'm going on this pitch. That certainly helps him and the batter.
That's right. But now with 2 strikes on Ozzie, that would become a moot point because Ozzie's got to be hacking. But you're right. You would think that guys who have played together in the batting order,
he should go now. He should take off.
Darling with a quick throw.
Darling thinks if he threw a good strike right down there low, he might have had a chance there. He got that ball up to Hernandez on that toss at first. Vince Coleman should be running now.
He's not. Smith takes low, and the count is 2-2.
I mean, if they're going to tell him not to run because your ankle's hurt, that's one thing. Ozzie Smith, 2 strikes, 2 outs. So he gets thrown out. Ozzie Smith gets another at bat to start off the next inning.
Darling working at keeping him close, but Coleman does not have a real big lead.
He never does.
Nope. He doesn't need that big a lead. As fast as he is.
Lou Brock, I think, believes in that. Lou Brock decided at some point in his career that it was better to get a little bit less of a lead so you wouldn't have to dive back in all the time.
It does take its toll, and that's one reason pitchers throw over there, is to take a little bit out of the base runner's legs. Coleman bluffs going again, and that pitch very close, but again, Carter jumping up, and the count is now 3-2, so with 2 out, it's all academic now. Coleman will be off with the pitch.
The outfielders have to be very aware here. If there's a ball that's a little bit in the gap, even if they cut it off, Vince Coleman, bad ankle and all, is still going to run pretty hard on this ball. You have to make sure you get it back to the infield in a hurry.
Foul back out of play, and so Coleman will go back to first.
I mean, look at it this way. Bad ankle and all, he can outrun you and I easy.
That's right.
At any time.
Relay.
At any time.
You and I could have a relay and get beaten. He could probably run backwards. Incidentally, I'm not being critical of Gary Carter when I'm talking about catchers jumping up. I'm talking about the effect Vince Coleman had. Slapped to short. Johnson will have to hurry and gets it there in time, and the inning is over. 1 hit and 1 left in the 7th inning. And after 6.5, the Cardinals still lead the Mets and Ron Darling 2-0. Now here's a word from Dodge. Magadan to lead it off for New York. Cardinals leading 2-0 as Magadan takes low for ball 1. Magadan 1 for 2 at a single to right in the 2nd inning. Getting his first start at third base today after making 35 starts at third last season. Magadan to bunt, but he takes it for a strike, 1-1.
In all probability, he was taking anyway on that pitch. Thought he'd give a little deke to the third baseman, keep him a little honest. Magadan, as you see, Lee Mazzilli loosening up, be the pinch hitter. But if you can draw that third baseman in, Magadan moving that ball in between short and third's got a better shot at it.
And he handles the bat so well that he picks up a lot of base hits the other way. 2 balls, 1 strike to Dave. Mazzilli to pinch hit for Darling, and then the top of the order in Len Dykstra as McDowell finishes his warm-ups in the bullpen. Getting ready for the top of the 8th. Grounded slowly to second. Tom Herr over and flips to Horner, 1 away. So Lee Mazzilli will get another pinch hitting opportunity. And now Mookie Wilson replaces Mazzilli.
It's a quick change on the part of Davey Johnson. I guess he decided if he got on base, he would use Mazzilli. And with no one on base, he would use Mookie Wilson. Mookie Wilson on the year is hitting .250. He's got 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. This is going to be his first official at bat as a pinch hitter.
Darling did pretty well. He was 1 for 2 with a double. Darling didn't do that badly on the mound either in 7 innings. Darling allowed the 2 runs on the 2 home runs, 1 by Pendleton and 1 by Lindemann. He gave up a total of 6 hits, struck out 6, and walked 4. A strike over the outside corner, 0-1 to Wilson, batting with 1 out and nobody on. So Ronnie out of there on the losing side. But Jose De Leon has pitched a beauty so far. Good breaking ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
As a look at that, a very good curveball. Little back door. Right outside corner. Good pitch.
And De Leon just missing the outside corner with a fastball now. And it's 2-2. Strike 3 on a curveball that Wilson thought was high and outside. But Mookie called out, and it is the 6th strikeout for Jose De Leon.
It's a tough pitch for a hitter coming off the bench to handle. But certainly after the other call, you can't let anything come out there. That is a tough pitch. Pinch hitting, it's real difficult to go up there and have to battle like that. But in these situations late in the game, you really can't take a pitch that's close.
Dykstra takes outside, ball 1. Lenny's 0 for 2. Wants to walk in the 3rd inning.
And very truthfully, even more so when your team is behind.
It's really true.
I know the umpires are making every effort to call everything as good as they can. They do a heck of a job of it, too. But as a hitter, I know I always approached it a little bit different if my team was behind. I was a little more aggressive. I didn't give the umpire an opportunity to call me out on a pitch that was maybe marginal.
Dykstra hits it well to center field, but it's just a high fly ball for Willie McGee, and the inning is over. So the Mets go in order here in the 7th inning. And after 7, we bid Rusty Staub adieu. Tim McCarver will come back in with the Cardinals leading 2-0. And we're back after this for Michelob. Stays in the game in center field for New York, replacing Len Dykstra, and Mookie will remain in the number 9 spot in the batting order. And coming into pitch, Roger McDowell, who will bat first in the order in Dykstra's spot. Roger in his 3rd game of the year, a record of 0-0, and he has not given up an earned run as yet. In fact, he's only given up 1 hit in 4 in the 3rd inning. He has given up an unearned run. He has walked 3 and has not struck out a batter. And it's 2-0. St. Louis leading as we go to the 8th inning with Tim McCarver.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Tommy Herr leads it off. 2-0 ball game by virtue of Terry Pendleton and Jim Lindemann's solo home runs off Ron Darling. Ronnie pitched well, working 7 innings, giving up 7 hits and the 2 earned runs. He walked 4 and struck out 6. No balls, 1 strike to Tommy Herr. Tommy 0 for 2 is grounded to second. and grounded into second the second time. The difference was there was a runner at first and less than 2 outs. It was a double play, and he walked his last time up. 1-1 to her, or to him.
To him who is her. The most grammatically incorrect player in the major leagues.
Tommy Herr last year with his Grand Slam home run off Jesse Orozco. His only Grand Slammer in his major league career. The fastball is low. In a game that Ron Darling started, Ronnie staked to a 5-0 lead, and that game won by the Cardinals 12-8. I guess you could say it was a shot her around the world or something like that. 2-1 to Tommy. 2-2.
Interestingly enough, this year, Tom has 9 base hits so far, and 5 of those are infield hits.
Wow. Good news and bad news. The wheels are fine, but
he's not getting the ball out of the infield.
That's a little sluggish. Well, that hit wasn't sluggish. That one a rope to center. So Herr leads off the 8th with a base hit, and the batter, Bob Horner.
First baseman Bob Horner.
Bob 0 for 2. He walked in the first, flied to right, and grounded into a double play. Inside, ball 1. Bob playing last year for the Yakult Swallows. Sounds more like a name of the occult instead of the Yakult Swallows.
They have some interesting team mascots.
They do indeed.
Japan, don't they? I mean, they do have the Giants and the Tigers and things like that. Some of the other ones are strange.
Herr with an idea about going. And McDowell almost balked. He almost did come to a stop. It's 3-0 to Horner.
Tom Herr with a little bluff.
There's a strike. 3 balls and a strike. Not defending McDowell, but this is a very difficult time of the year for a pitcher who relies on a lot of work to stay sharp.
Well, that's one reason he's in there, is because the Mets have not had an opportunity recently for him to pitch with the 2 shutouts this past week.
There goes Herr, strike 2, the throw, safe at second base, and you wonder where Wally Backman, what he was doing. He may have thought it was ball 4. Wally didn't even appear to make a tag, did he?
No, and he came well up past the base path to get the ball. Carter makes the throw. It's a called strike, and look at Backman. He just sort of stuck his glove out as Herr went by. And he was well in front of the bag. The ball was thrown a little bit into the runner, but not that far.
Grounded toward Backman, and he'll have to go to first. So Whitey Herzog, by sending Herr on the 3-1 count, stays out of the double play. As Horner moves Herr to third, and the batter, Willie McGee, who's 1 for 3.
The fielder, Willie McGee.
The catcher asked for a quick call with the runner on first and the count 3-1. And the call was quick, but it appeared that Wally thought the ball was inside. Infield in for McGee. Oh, boy. Looks like it was off the inside of the right leg, either the knee or the ankle. Gary Carter plunked again.
The ball was fouled straight down, and then quickly, it may have even hit the plate, came up and caught Gary Carter.
Herr at third, probably making the ball go through with the infield drawn in. Good play by Carter. 1-1 to McGee. 2-0. St. Louis on top. 2 balls and a strike to McGee.
The Mets may have the most difficult pitching staff in the league to catch, with all the split-finger fastballs and movement on pitches and McDowell and Cone and those kind of guys.
Tapper toward Hernandez, and Herr wanted to go, and what a third base coach will tell you, Willie's saying it's hit off his foot, and now Gary Darling is going to check for shoe polish, and he calls him out. 2 outs, and the Mets get a break.
Well, McGee didn't do a very good job of acting. The Academy Awards are over anyway. He wouldn't even get nominated on this one.
You're right. You can't run and complain.
He ran down the first baseline. Now, it did come close to his foot, but look, he gets out of the box and he runs about a third of the way down the line until he sees that Hernandez has the ball. Then he stops and turns around and acts as if it hit him on the foot.
The best indication is what a hitter does. If the hitter stays in the box, you can't react that quickly.
No, and
so
he took off.
Yeah, if you stay in the box, usually an umpire will call it a foul ball. But because he ran, Gary Darling properly called him out, and Terry Pendleton takes the strike.
I guess.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, I guess every time Roger McDowell faces Terry Pendleton, it'll bring back memories of last season in September until this season is completed.
Ground ball towards second. Backman to Hernandez. So McDowell pitches out of trouble here in the 8th inning. After 7.5, it's 2-0 St. Louis. We're back after this from the 9X Yellow Pages.
Shot again of Willie McGee grounding this ball to Hernandez. Now, it did come close to his foot, but look at McGee run out of the box. Now he pulls up and hops a little bit, trying to say it went off of his foot, but he didn't think quickly enough, and if he had have hit his foot, he would not have taken off for first base like he did.
So Wally Backman, the batter, is fly deep to left field, sacrifice, and he had a bunt base hit in the first. 2-0 St. Louis, 1 ball, no strikes to Backman. Ball 2.
Wally had both Pendleton and Horner moving then as he slid his hand up the bat handle. He bunted successfully in the first inning, pushing the ball past De Leon to Tom Herr and beat it out for an infield base hit.
He'll be taking here, and he does, and takes a strike. 2 balls and a strike. Inside and low, 3 balls and a strike. And if you take 2-0, more than likely you'll take 3-1 when your club is trailing by more than a run in the late innings. We'll see what Wally does. Sometimes you can entice a team into throwing just a fastball in that situation. And when and if they do that, that's when you unleash and start whacking away at a few of those balls. And then when they find out you'll do that, start taking again.
It's just like Whitey's quote, you're figuring what the guy's figuring, you're figuring, he's not figuring, you're figuring.
Ball 4, we'll never know. So Backman leads off the 8th with a walk. The 3rd time in this game that the Mets have had the leadoff runner on. And the batter, Keith Hernandez. Activity for the Cardinals. Mike Rourke, the pitching coach, will now meander out to the mound and speak with an angry Jose De Leon.
Well, De Leon has pitched so well in this ballgame. That's only the 3rd walk he's given up, and we're in the 8th inning. But when you're only up 2-0 and you put that leadoff batter on, especially in the 8th and 9th innings, when you're trying to close the door, it can be extremely frustrating. Mike Rourke is also buying some time here for the bullpen, in which there has now started to be some activity. So home plate umpire Gary Darling is out to break up the meeting on the mound. And you could tell by the shot from the dugout earlier that Whitey Herzog specifically sent Mike Rourke out there for that purpose.
That's because Darryl Strawberry is on deck. And if Strawberry beats you in the late innings or ties the ball game, you want him to do it against a left-handed pitcher. So buying time for Steve Peters in the bullpen, the left-hander. Outside and high. It's 1 ball and a strike to Hernandez, who is 1 for 3. 2-0 St. Louis. We're in the top of the 8th inning. Backman in first and nobody out. 1 ball, no strikes to Hernandez. Ball 2, 2 balls and no strikes. There's Peters, the left-hander, and Todd Worrell, who was the loser in yesterday's game, the big right-hander. Grounder by Horner at first. Backman will go to third, first and third, and nobody out. We'll see how it's going to be scored.
The advantage of having a left-hander up with a base runner at first who can run, as with Backman, is twofold. Not only do you have that hole between first and second, but the first baseman cannot play as deep. And this really affected Horner on this ball, as he's in on the edge of the grass, and the ball is to him more quickly than he can react. He gets an in-between hop on the backhand side because he doesn't have the time or the room to move around and control the situation.
Kevin Elster in as the pinch runner for Keith Hernandez, and I am really surprised that De Leon is facing Strawberry with Peters warming up.
Why is he warming up if not for this particular situation?
Nobody out. Swing and a miss, 0-1. I think Whitey, if Peters were ready, Whitey would bring him in. But because he was just up for the last hitter, Hernandez, he may not be loose yet.
And then that brings the question, why was Peters not started immediately when Backman got on base?
All good questions, but it's no balls and 2 strikes to Darryl Strawberry.
Darryl has really had a problem figuring out the forkball of Jose De Leon today. De Leon struck out Strawberry in the first and then got Darryl to ground weakly to second in the third.
Another forkball lifted to left, and it's going to be foul and out of play. Darryl really struggling. Boy, he can't pick that ball up. You're right, Steve.
Another forkball outside. Darryl stays with it better than he has the others, but it's not really a good pitch to hit. But with 2 strikes, you can't be too picky.
Another forkball. Good play by Pena. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Earlier, Rusty Staub brought up the point when Gary Carter was hitting with 2 men on and 2 strikes, that as a hitter, you just have to give up the notion of hitting a 3-run home run when you're behind in the count, as Darryl is and has been. You've got to make contact.
Outside, ball 2, 2-2. That was a waist-high waist pitch. Backman at third. Elster as the pinch runner for Hernandez at first. Still nobody out. Outside, 3-2. Big question. Do you send the runner? Tough decision here.
Nobody out. And the Mets are 2 runs down. Elster's put in there as a pinch runner for Hernandez because he does run well. Now may be a time to take advantage of it, but you run the risk.
Strawberry, a strikeout victim once today, and he struck out over 100 times again last year. Darryl will strike out, so those are the options. 3-2, nobody out. Not running, ripped to right, base hit. Elster will try to go to third and make it. 2-1 Cardinals.
Whitey Herzog still has a one-run lead, but there's nobody out. And a lot of guessing going on now as Le'Veon put one right there in his wheelhouse, and Darrell didn't think about it. He just hit it, driving the ball into right field, right on the pitch. And the Mets are first and third in them in fine fashion here in the 8th inning.
Kevin McReynolds, the batter. The Cardinals are playing in double play depth. Inside, ball one. If you have a ball hit sharply to the infielders, as Ozzie Smith wants to talk to De Leon, you as a runner at third base have a very difficult choice.
Especially when you're the tying run with nobody out.
Your choice is whether to go or not. If you go and in the process get thrown out to leave first and second and only one out, then it's not a good play. On the other hand, you have to go to break up two. Tough option. 2 balls and no strikes to McReynolds. And that's going to be all for De Leon. Whitey's seen enough. The big question, however, Whitey one of the best around, but the key question here, why wasn't Steve Peters ready to pitch to Strawberry? It's a 2-1 ball game. The Cardinals are on top, but the Mets have runners at first and third, nobody out. 2 balls and no strikes to Kevin McReynolds and Todd Worrell in the ball game. We'll see how Todd and the Cardinals do after this word from ITT.
Todd Worrell in to face Kevin McReynolds with a count of 2-0, and Todd making his 7th appearance already this season in 11 games for St. Louis. A record of 0-2 and a rather high 6.75 earned run average. He's worked only 8 innings, so he has been tagged for 6 earned runs.
You're watching Mets Baseball 88 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. The count, 2 balls and no strikes to Kevin McReynolds. Kevin 0 for 3. But as you saw, he is hitting the ball very well so far this year. Little looper to left center. Smith can't get to it. Strawberry will try for third. He's going to be a dead duck. Out at third is Strawberry on the play. McReynolds to second base. But the tying run scores, and it's 2-2.
Well, McReynolds doesn't get all of this, to say the least. He hits it right off the trademark, but Ozzie Smith can't get to it, and of course Coleman had to play McReynolds deep. As soon as the ball drops, Elster scores, but Strawberry, trying to get to third on the play, is thrown out. Coleman quickly firing a strike to Pendleton, and as you can see, Strawberry's out by about 15 feet. Alertly, though, McReynolds goes to second.
Gary Carter, the batter. He homered against Worrell yesterday and has the last 2 game-winning RBIs for the Mets, both on home runs. 2-2. We're in the 8th. 1 out. McReynolds at second. Foul tip, 1-1. I think Darrell made the right play going to third base. That little hesitation before he got to second. He didn't decide soon enough that Ozzie couldn't get to that ball. It's a judgment play, and Darrell missed it himself, but I think he made the right play.
I do too, because the tying run had scored. Had he been able to get over there where he could have scored on something other than a base hit, it would have been a big boon to the Mets in getting the potential winning run home.
Normally, you don't take a chance like that in making the first out at third base, but you got Gary Carter as the next hitter. And Gary is swinging the bat well, but he's also a good double play man.
Here's the pitch. Pena got a foul tip, it looks like, underneath his leg. Similar to the one that Carter had earlier, so Pena had to take a little time.
1-1 to Gary. 2-2 game. McReynolds at second, 1 out. Popped up and could be playable. Pena makes the play. 2 out.
Now, this is not a routine play. Pena looking up into the sun, and of course, catchers do wear glasses, as does Pena, but they have a hard time with sunglasses.
There is no way that Whitey Herzog will allow Worrell, a fastball pitcher, to pitch to Howard Johnson, a fastball hitter, even though he has 3 strikeouts today. They're going to leave it up to Magadan, and you may see Peters here. I don't know. We'll see.
Magadan has shown that he's not been, at least in his young career, overly susceptible to left-handed pitching. He hit left-handed pitching very well last year.
And you can remove Magadan from the game since Elster's already in the game anyway. Move Johnson back to third and Elster at shortstop. And pinch hit for Magadan. We'll see. That may be the move anyway, with the game being tied going into the 9th inning. So Magadan may be out of the ball game and probably will be after this at bat or before this at bat.
Third baseman Dave Magadan.
No move on the part of the Cardinals to bring Peters in to face Magadan.
To number 1 stopper, that's the other side of the coin. Dave 1 for 3. McReynolds will try to get a good jump off of second because the Cardinal outfield is shallow. 2 out, 2 on, 2-2. Ball 1.
The 2 runs in this inning are charged to Jose De Leon, so he's out of there with a no decision, as McReynolds is the responsibility of Worrell.
Because Strawberry is thrown out at third. Right. Kind of an interesting twist, wasn't it? Ball 2, 2-0. Mookie Wilson on deck.
Well, as I said, he did an outstanding job against left-handed hitters last year. .438. He wasn't considered to be in the overall statistics best in the league in that category, even though his average was higher, because he didn't have enough at-bats to qualify. And you see Mookie Wilson on deck.
Free swing. Fouls it back. 2-1. The Mets trailing 2-0 because Terry Pendleton and Jim Lindemann hit home runs in the 4th inning off Ron Darling. Ronnie off the hook now as the Mets have come back to tie it with 2 here in the 8th. Numbers don't lie. Gas, 2-2. Boy, I mean, that was some dead red right there.
Well, during the commercial break when Todd Worrell came in to warm up, Tim and I both comment on how hard he was throwing. He obviously got loose. He's bringing it up there.
Funny how you send in someone who throws gas to put out a fire.
Sounds like something Stephen Wright would say. Reminds me of his line about you give people a penny for their thoughts, but everybody wants to put their 2 cents in.
Well, speaking of 2, 2s are wild. 2 on, 2-2 the count, 2 out, and the score's 2-2. That looked like a changeup or a screwball. Worrell will do that occasionally, but if he has that hit and the Cardinals lose because of that pitch, it would probably be an angry Whitey Herzog.
Well, you always want to get beat with your best if you're going to get beat, and that is not Todd Worrell's best pitch. It did, however, not hurt him that time as Magadan fouled it off. As hard as he throws, a change can be effective.
to the heater. This one low. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And, of course, the runners will be off. Whitey with his shades on, and the shadow has gone past the Cardinal dugout.
Still bright out there. That's what he's looking at. He's styling.
3-2 pitch. And it looked like that off-speed pitch again, and Magadan down on strike. So Worrell getting a key strikeout, but the Mets tied on 3 hits with 2 runs. They strand 2. After 8 innings of play, 2-2. We're back after this from Lincoln Mercury.
He'll get shuffled as we go to the 9th inning. Magadan moves from 3rd to 1st. Kevin Elster, who pinch ran, stays in the game and plays short. And Howard Johnson moves from short to 3rd. 2-2 tie. Top of the 9th. Each club with 7 hits. And Jim Lindemann to lead off the 9th inning against Roger McDowell. Lindemann's home run coming after Pendleton's solo shot in the 4th, giving St. Louis their 2nd run. Grounded right back to McDowell, who snags it and throws him out 1 away.
Quick hands is not often how you describe a pitcher. It's how you describe a middle infielder. But McDowell, we have seen him so many times with those quick hands make the plays himself. If that ball gets by Roger, it's probably a base hit. Certainly could have been.
There's probably not a position on the field McDowell couldn't play and play well. That's how good an athlete. Defensively,
yep,
yes.
Right.
Here's Tony Pena, who is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, and he fouls one off hard down the right field line for strike 1. Pena facing McDowell for the first time today, as his other 3 at-bats were against Darling. Strike 2. 0-2. Grounded into the hole. Backman over on the outfield grass with a good play to get Pena 2 away.
On the line with Pena hitting, and one of those rare opportunities to guard the line to prevent against the extra base hit with a right-handed hitter hitting, putting the first baseman on the line. And because of that, Wally had to make the play and made it well. With Pena hitting against a right-handed pitcher, it's proper to move Howard Johnson, the 3rd baseman, off the line and to put Magadan on the line. And that's how the defense was set up.
Curt Ford pinch hitting now at 154 on the year. And he fouls it back hard for strike 1. Ford, as a pinch hitter, is 0 for 1. 2 out and nobody on in the 9th of the 2-2 tie. And if you're looking ahead to the possibility of extra innings, if it goes to extra innings, it would be the 3rd time this year already that the Cardinals will have had an extra inning game. The Mets have not played an extra inning game so far this year. The Cards so far are 1-1 in extra innings. No, they're 0-2. Sorry. They had 1 at home and 1 on the road. 2 balls, 1 strike to Curt Ford. Just missed outside. 3-1. Roger going to his mouth, but he was not on the dirt. He was walking around on the grass outside the circle, so it was okay. Slapped foul outside 3rd, and the count 3-2. a souvenir. They sell a lot of things at the ballpark, but they don't sell foul ball. The only thing you can't go by. Lofted to left. McReynolds cruises over, and the inning is over. McDowell retires the Cardinals in order in the ninth, and we will go to the bottom of the ninth, tied at 2 right after this for Bud Light.
New pitcher for the Cardinals in place of Todd Worrell is Steve Peters. He's been in 6 ball games and worked only 4 innings. He usually is the guy that Whitey Herzog calls on to get left-handers out, and he'll be the pitcher in this tie ball game. Very interesting thing, folks, that I learned from Steve Peters before the ball game. And Steve, this is the most unusual way to throw a curveball that I've ever seen. Steve Peters' 2 fingers, the forefinger on his left hand and the middle finger, because he puts pressure on the middle finger, he actually overlaps his finger. I have never heard of a pitcher throwing a curveball like that. He actually overlaps his fingers. He says that since there's pressure on the middle finger anyway, and there's no pressure on the other finger, why not overlap them and put twice as much pressure? So that's what you can look for. That's what the Mets hitters have to look for when they face Steve Peters.
Are you sure it's the fact that he doesn't have confidence in it, so he crosses his fingers when he throws it?
I told him that. I said, you know, I've caught a lot of pitchers who crossed their fingers when they threw the ball, but never one intentionally who did that.
Well, he just threw it to Mookie Wilson, and it was high for ball 1. Mookie 0 for 1, looked at a called third strike as a pinch hit. Mookie, Roger McDowell, and Wally Backman, the 3 scheduled hitters here in the bottom of the 9th inning against Steve Peters. Fastball foul back out of play, and the count 2-1. 2 runs, 7 hits, 1 error for the Cardinals. 2 runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Mets. Peters has certainly been the situation pitcher, as you pointed out to me. 7th appearance, but he's only worked 4 innings. Line drive off of Peters, and they won't get Mookie. And he throws it away. It goes into the stands, and Wilson will be awarded second base. And the winning run is at second base with nobody out in the bottom of the 9th. Coming out to check Peters.
Watch Pendleton. He's trying to tell Peters, don't throw it. He almost reached out and stopped him from throwing it. But Steve goes ahead and makes the errant throw to first, and it's a base hit and an error. Watch Terry Pendleton, the third baseman. Hold it. Now watch him reach out. He almost tried to reach out and grab the ball. Now that would have been quick hand.
Infield single and an error. Peters will throw a couple to be sure he's all right as the ball went off his leg. Look at Pendleton. He's staying right there. Don't do it.
He went, whoa, wait a minute. Boy, that's a great shot. Nice going, guys.
How close he came to actually hitting his arm. And you wonder if the ball had gone through and not hit Peters, could either Ozzie Smith or Tom Herr gotten to it and thrown out Mookie Wilson. The fortunes of the game.
Here it is once again off the handle. It hits him on the right knee, and again Pendleton. He's still trying to knock down that shot.
No.
Magic Johnson or Larry Bird going after a layup. Interesting situation here. Lions up to bunt with Mookie at second and nobody out. Tim Tuffle on deck, but remember, Kevin Elster is hitting in the number 3 hole. He was the pinch runner for Hernandez. That's probably why Scott Terry's up for the Cardinals, the right-hander.
There's Tuffle on deck. With the left-hander Peters out there, Davy Johnson going to lift Wally Backman in favor of Tuffle. And Roger McDowell lifted now in favor of Barry Lyons to pinch hit against Peters.
Number 33, catcher, Barry Lyons.
Lyons has been up twice, both times as a pinch hitter, still looking for his first hit of the year. but takes high, ball one. Mookie had a big jump off second base, and Ozzie Smith quickly moved over to try to keep him close. Good bunt. Pendleton will have to go to first in time, and the sacrifice moves Wilson to third as the winning run with one out here in the ninth inning.
Well, I mean, a blueprint. And this is a very, very important bunt, because if Lyons doesn't get it down, they walk Tuffle, bring in the right-hander to pitch to Elster, and you're really limiting yourself. Now Davy Johnson a lot more flexible with the way he moves his offense around, and Whitey Herzog, as a result, limited, even though he's going to go out and get Peters now, I would think.
Well, he waits for Tuffle to be announced before he does anything.
Right.
To be sure that Tuffle is in the game. They're trying to bring Vince Coleman in. In fact, they're bringing the outfield in all the way around in an effort, if there is a fly ball of medium depth, to have a shot to throw out Mookie Wilson. But with Mookie's great speed, it's going to be difficult for the outfield regardless of where they're playing. Of course, if it's a real shallow pop, Mookie will not go.
You're a little surprised they're pitching to him here?
I sure am.
Tim Tuffle, as far as his extra base hits were concerned last year, had as many, and you know, that pitch could have been a wild pitch.
Now Whitey comes out. That also could have been that he didn't get the signal from the bullpen in time, and that, if that's the case,
you call timeout.
That's right. You stop and wait, because the guy's obviously got to be close to being ready. Why take the chance? There's Scott Terry, who now appears to be ready.
Last year at Nashville, the AAA affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds, and he came over on September 3rd for the left-hander Pat Perry. The Cardinals, incidentally, Whitey doesn't have to move them in, but they will have not only their infield in, but one of the rare times in a game where 7 guys will be in, because a sacrifice fly in this situation does no one any good, especially the Redbirds, unless, of course, it's the Mets. The Mets benefit from it, but not St. Louis. Game's over. That's why you pull all the outfielders in. Pardon me, Steve.
Sorry, Lee Mazzilli getting the bat and getting ready. Lee was ready to hit earlier, but was called back in favor of Mookie Wilson back in the 7th inning. And there's Barry Lyons with the big bunt to get Mookie to third for this one-out situation. So Tim Tuffle will now face Scott Terry, and the count is 1 ball, no strike.
Now no thought of a walk, because Elster, the pinch runner for Hernandez the last inning, is in there, and you don't want to walk anybody unless it's going to be Darryl Strawberry if you get that far.
Tuffle hitting 148 on the year. Lying tight. Ball 2.
I'll tell you, Steve, I don't think Willie McGee in center field, even though he's loosening up, can throw Mookie Wilson out from where he is. And that's where you have to, that's what you have to do. The slider is tight to Tuffle, but you have to position yourself from where that spot you can throw Mookie Wilson out. I don't think McGee can from that spot.
He's come in a couple of steps, but still not far enough. They're in closer in left and right. Tuffle with a line drive, and Wilson just does get back to third base. Pendleton, cat quick, trying to chase another guy who moves very well, and Mookie just did get back. 2 away.
Oh, an excellent reaction play by Terry Pendleton, but an equal play by Wilson. The third base coach will tell you to watch the line drive. It's the hardest thing in the world to do. Mookie goes back immediately.
Otherwise, he'd have been out.
That's right.
So Mookie's still at third, now with 2 out. The infield and outfield moving back for St. Louis, and here's Kevin Elster batting for the first time. And he takes high, ball 1. Elster hitting just 118 so far this year. everything back to normal defensively with 2 out. Ball 2.
Who had only 4 base hits previously this year, singles to center to score Mookie Wilson, and the Mets have swept the St. Louis Cardinals with a 3-2 victory here at Shea. New York has now won 6 in a row. The Cardinals have lost 6 in a row, and the Mets stay atop the National League Eastern Division.
Of all people, Kevin Elster, who has really been struggling, 4 for 34, as Steve said, he comes through, and I'm sure his Met teammates thinking that it couldn't have happened to a better guy at a better time than right now.
A bunch of happy Mets fans, over 49